Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA Finley.
This is going to be very inspirational. SHERI Sobrado Brisson. She is someone who, it's interesting when you are working on a project, it's one thing, even if you have passion, but if you've already been exposed to some very serious things, you can be a more passionate person. And I'm going to let you hear SHERI Sobrado Brisson tell you a little bit about her brain cancer. She's a major survivor and what she's doing now. So welcome to our show, SHERI.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Anita, for having me on the show.
Okay, so you really have a big story here, and now, fortunately, you're able to help other people with many things as a philanthropist, and then I'm going to let you tell everybody about Shadow's Edge. So just go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, the project started at the 25th year of my survivorship. I'm now a 30-year survivor, but 5 years ago I started writing a book, which was a journaling tool, which I wrote with my colleague Rose Offner, and it helped young people go through the important emotional healing process that comes along with dealing with any type of long-term health challenge. So it could be a chronic condition. It could be something intense like a cancer, an accident that you have to get through, that you will get better. But there wasn't so much available at the time, and still isn't, that helps young people, so kids and teens, which is what the book was for, Digging Deep. That book is called. And what we've done that's really fun now is I think that therapists working in hospitals, it was distributed for free to pediatric hospitals all over the country. And I think that therapists and social workers and child life specialists absolutely loved the book, which is why it basically flew off the shelf. But what we've done now is make it much more interactive, fun, and speaks to teens specifically because it's where they live and where they learn, and that's through their technology. So we've made a mobile game called Shadow's Edge, which is launching this Saturday on Apple and Google, so for all mobile devices, that takes our book and makes it alive through a gaming environment where there's a story that the kids get to rebuild a world that's been destroyed or decimated by a storm and nearly washed away, and they get to go through the game, and the fun part of self-expression that they get to do in the game is creating a graffiti all over the city. And with that graffiti, they also get to write, so their graffiti represents in a artistic way things that they write about in their journal. So the game is still a journal, but done in a very fun and unique way. And we created the game because there weren't tools out there to really help young people live with the challenges that they're facing when dealing with health issues in their lives. There's just less support available in hospitals because kids, frankly, sometimes are super sick when they're there, and as soon as they get even slightly well enough to go home, they end up going home, and so the social workers aren't there to help them on an ongoing basis, or the child life specialists to deal with that emotional side of what's going on. And it's also very difficult to have important emotional conversations within the family setting because everybody's struggling when a child has a serious condition, and everybody wants everybody else to feel good and be distracted maybe from what the seriousness of the condition really is, and that leaves the emotional needs of kids hanging. So this was our solution, to come up with something fun in the space that kids are in the digital space, that could help them have a safe place to express those complicated feelings that might come along with dealing with this.
Let me just tell you that I'm actually a board member of, you probably know all about Broward County and Palm Beach County. Well, Broward County has a big foundation for their health. It's called Broward Health. And I'm on that board, and they've just now, they've had hospitals for kids, but now they've expanded them. And I would love to figure out how we could have you a little involved, or at least get some of those copies to the Broward Health.
Well, the book has actually gone out of print because we couldn't keep up with the demand. And instead, we put the book inside the game. So anybody can go to, it's downloaded like any other app. So on the App Store, on Google Play, starting Saturday, search for Shadow's Edge and get the word out. And then for specific organizations like hospitals, children's health nonprofits of various kinds supporting different diseases, for example, they can contact us and we can get them, all the marketing material that we have that goes so they can get the word out so people can start learning why it is that we created this game, what it's meant to do. We have little gifts for teens and things like that because that's how it's going to spread. I think we have social media channels as well where parents, professionals, and teens themselves can learn more, and that's right on our website, shadowsedge.com. And we have one blog on Digging Deep, which was the name of our journal, and that's our site that's going to remain for parents and professionals. We already have a blog that we've been doing for the last 3 years with over 250 articles written specifically on addressing the emotional and practical needs for families when they're struggling with things like health issues in their family. And then now, because of the game, we've launched a teen blog. So for our teen blog, it's packed with information, all for free, all on the internet. And our teen blog is both written by our experts and those that we source, as well as by the teens themselves. And we're looking for more teens to become writers for our teen blog, where they're sharing their experience, sharing their expertise, what tricks up their sleeve do they have for getting through some of these challenges, and sharing with other kids, just so when the kids and teens look at the site, they realize, hey, we're not alone in our struggles. There's other people that maybe even have a different disease than we do, but they face the same challenges of going back to school and what's that going to be like, or missing out on very important things because they're too sick to go or just can't physically participate. And we have this whole network that we're building, and that's the exciting part, not just our brand new game that's coming out on Saturday, but also the whole community that we're building around what it is that we're trying to do.
Well, you're certainly a perfect person to do this. And can we take you back when this first happened to you and your family, and are you now incorporating all the feelings that you had, your family had? Is that how this is?
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't want this to be just about my experience. So, of course, we've developed both products, the journal and the game, by talking to young people themselves and having them come up with the questions and helping us design, for example, the game, what's cool for kids, because, I'm not one anymore, and I wanted to make sure that it was something that the young people could relate to. But in terms of the personal experience, the process, let's say, of how one emotionally heals. I mean, I'm a very long-term survivor now, 30 years and running. And I've related to the fact of having gone through brain cancer at a very young age, at 24, so I was not a teen myself, but I was just at that part where I was becoming my own independent adult, had a career going. I was, at first I had worked on Wall Street, and then I was working first employee for a startup company that became a large company, and it was devastating to me to have to, be thrust back into my parents' home. Not that it wasn't a loving place to be, but I was independent. I had my life going. I was, in love. I was hoping to have kids, and then suddenly I was back in my parents' home having to deal with things that nobody else my age was really dealing with. My prognosis.
And not knowing you were even going to live.
Exactly. My prognosis was 6 months, and that was 30 years ago.
Is that right?
But I didn't know I was going to live these extra 30 years and hopefully, 50 or 60 more years. Not more years, but, 60 years in total from when I was diagnosed. I mean, they had never treated my type of brain tumor successfully. Long long-term before. So not only did I have excellent medical care, which certainly was the first step, I did absolutely everything, whether it was all the, complementary medicine things that I did, but also the whole mind, body, spirit I embraced. And 30 years ago, there weren't a lot of options at all for patients who wanted to take a proactive role in dealing with their illness. And I definitely was one of those doer type of people, and still am. And I really wanted to embrace whatever I could. So actually what I started doing was reading a ton of self-help books. And I highlighted everything, and then I made bullet points in my journal and wrote about ways I could incorporate what I was learning from self-help books or from the support groups that I went to, and embracing those things, which really are showing up now as wisdoms in the game. So not only do you journal and you create graffiti, you also are given inspiring wisdoms throughout the gameplay. And a lot of that came directly from looking back in my old journals and things that I had learned and embraced. And the whole idea of the project came about because, my family was really no different than any other family that's out there. We had trouble in our family talking about important issues. Just like I heard the kids tell me in support groups, we don't want to talk to our parents because we don't want to make them cry. Or I can't. And the parents would say, hey, my kid seems to be doing okay. So, hey, I'm not going to be the one to shake things up. I'm not going to be the one to bring up, a difficult conversation. And so there was just a lot of not talking going around, not just in my family, but I think after leading support groups for 15 years with families, there was just a lot of not talking going on. And even kids sometimes couldn't feel like they had the words. They didn't even know how they felt, let alone being able to communicate that to someone where it's just tough to have this kind of conversation. So these tools are designed so that kids could discover themselves what their story is, what it is that they want to communicate, what those feelings are, because so often they're never asked. So that's the first stage, is to help them find the words. And then when they find the words, to gently encourage them that they can be authentic and real with people, and that they can sort of put it out there, what's going on for them, because there's all this support around them, all these people that want to help, but they don't know what to do. And it's really the responsibility of the patient, and this is what I learned through my own survivorship process. It's the responsibility of the patient to put themselves out there. But that's something that needs to be learned. And my tools help young people learn how to do that.
You are such a pioneer. I'm just listening to this, and I'm a gerontologist, but I'm not. This is a very different story, and I'm really so amazed and so impressed with what you have done. So let's make sure that people who listen, they may have a grandchild, it may be themselves, whatever it is. Let's talk about Shadow's Edge, and so they'll be able to get that starting Saturday, right? And they can go to this mobile app, download it, and
it's free. I forgot to mention that. It's free. That's the best part.
Fabulous.
It's free to anybody. Yeah. So there's no reason, if somebody does not have this situation in their family, that's excellent.